What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the College Sports Connection podcast, where Double A, Alex, and AJ host the Mid-American Conference Best.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the College Sports Connection podcast. I'm your host, Alex the Captain. Joining me, as always, AJ the Guru.
What's going on, everybody?
AJ, welcome back. It is 2022. We are officially done with the 2021 football season for the Mid-American Conference. Welcome to the new year. Excited to kick off this new season with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise with you. It's this past season went by quick. It doesn't seem like long ago. It was August, and we were playing Power 5 schools and talking about those, and Western was going to Pitt and beating them, and here we are at the end of the season. A couple bowl wins, a few bowl losses, which we'll get into, but yeah, it's exciting time of year. We got to experience a bowl game this year live, which we'll get into here in a little bit, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of good things going on here for 2022. Some big plans, some big guests, hopefully planned, and we'll go on from there.
Sure. So you mentioned bowl games, going from beginning of the season to the end of the season. Let's do a quick recap. The MAC did not fare as well as we had hoped, finishing a 3-5 bowl record for the Mid-American Conference. At the time that they finished that, however, they were not dead last, and they were above a couple of Power 5 conferences, including the ACC and the SEC. So 3-5, not the best, but saved by a couple of big wins by a couple schools who took us by surprise, most notably Central Michigan beating Washington State in the Sun Bowl on Friday, December 31st to literally finish the 2021 year.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one where I'm sure all of you know now, but the Arizona Bowl was canceled, so they had to fly from Phoenix to El Paso, ended up playing Wazoo State over there. Into it, Central pretty much had that game from start to finish. They looked great. Coach McElwain had a great game plan for however little time he had to form a game plan. He made a nice one. And but yeah, the players came to play. Pimpleton looked great. They were able to kind of hold Wazoo in check, and they did a good job of it.
Yeah, you look at the box scores. The box score tells two different tales, right? The first half, Central Michigan takes a 21-0 lead into halftime, just absolutely confused Washington State. And they had a few missed opportunities as well. This was a game that the final box score, Central Michigan 24, Washington State 21. But this is a game that really Central Michigan probably wins if a few opportunities go the right way, a fumble or not a couple non-missed field goals. This is a game that Central Michigan wins by 24 points. This was an impressive game for Central, both defensively and offensively, to secure the win. Coach McElwain getting his Frosted Flakes, his bath, if you will, the tub of Frosted Flakes dumped on him. Great for him. Great for that program. Big time win for the program. I was just looking at some stuff. Very, very few MAC teams and very few non-Power 5 programs have won this game. This is a historic bowl game, a big win for Central, and a huge win for the Mid-American Conference, taking down Washington State out of the Pac-12. Up until this game, the Pac-12 was 21-0 against the Mid-American Conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Central ends the season with a 9-4 record. Very, very, very respectable record there, as well as Zoo ended up 7-6. Kind of look at the numbers here. The total yards for the Chippewas was 556 to 250. The Chips outgaining them just about 106 yards. They were pretty efficient through the air, though. Both teams completing 18 passes. The Chips 18 of 34. Wazoo was 18 of 40. When you go down the list, though, statistically, it was a fairly even game up until you come to the rushing. Wazoo only had 23 yards rushing compared to the Chips 147. They ran it 39 times and averaged 3.8 yards per carry. Time of possession, too, was an interesting stat I saw in this game, too. The Chippewas had it for over 35 minutes, and the Wazoo just had it just under 25. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge tale right there of how fluid the defense was as to getting Wazoo off the field and getting the ball back to the Chips offense.
Right. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, Central Michigan again punches Washington State in the mouth. And to give everybody kind of a timeline, because I don't know how many people paid attention, but there's a timeline here of the incredible turnaround Central Michigan had. You find out on Monday, last Monday, that the Arizona Bowl, that Boise State is withdrawing from the Arizona Bowl. The Arizona Bowl is subsequently canceled. You find out Monday night you can eventually go and play in the Sun Bowl. So you start practicing and prepping on Tuesday. You get 2 practices between Tuesday and Wednesday. You have to fly up, or I think they drove up. I think they got on a bus and drove up to or down to El Paso, 350 miles on Thursday. They get a light practice on Friday or on that Thursday. And then they play the bowl game on Friday. Washington State obviously didn't have much of an advantage except for the fact that they were already there. Central Michigan had to fly their home jerseys down. They got help from the Washington State equipment staff to get the Sun Bowl patches on those jerseys. And it just a wild turn of events. And for Central Michigan to come away with a win, you and I joked about it earlier. McElwain probably just threw a little bit of dip in his lips, said, "All right, boys, let's do this." So it's and that's exactly what they did, finishing. They only needed 3 points in the second half to secure the win. And huge win for Central Michigan taking down Washington State.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the patches on the jerseys there. They had to overnight them from Mount Pleasant to El Paso. And I think they needed 125 patches, and they had just enough to get a patch on every jersey. And so shout out to those equipment managers who had got that stuff taken care of. That couldn't have been easy at all.
No, I mean, and with Washington State chipping in again, a big shout out to their equipment crew for chipping in and helping get all those patches on the Central jerseys. It's, I mean, it was a great effort all around by both the Arizona Bowl committee, unfortunately canceling that game, but getting Central in place to still practice, getting them the opportunity to prepare for their subsequent replacement bowl game. Washington State's equipment team for being so gracious and helpful. The Sun Bowl committee for accepting Central Michigan after Washington State saw, I think it was Miami, pull out of that game. Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, just a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that happened, and just, it really, really worked out and benefited the MAC more than anything else. A lot of bowl money coming from that win, and good for Central.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a good crowd there too.
Yeah, there really was.
And I mean, obviously it was only 350 miles or so from Phoenix, but nevertheless, I mean, Central, both teams traveled there. They both had a nice little crowd there on CBS.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I was very happy to see that game was covered well by all participants. And just great stuff for Central Michigan. We'll run through the rest of the bowl games here. We're going to save the QuickLane Bowl for last. We can talk about that one because we were there. But we'll just kind of run over the rest of the bowl games. On Christmas, Ball State taking on Georgia State. Not the outcome Ball State was looking for. It was looking pretty close in the first half. Ball State only down a score. Georgia State blows this wide open, 28 unanswered points in the third quarter. Obviously winning this one 51-20, putting up a 50 burger on Ball State, the now no longer defending MAC champions. This was a brutal game if you're a Ball State fan, because you had such high hopes for this team coming into the season. You came off a 7-1 season. You had just won your first bowl game in program history. You won a first MAC title in years. Now they're back to what looks to be mediocrity, sitting at a 6-7 record to cap the season. And that's just tough.
Yeah, it's not great. You look at the numbers here. Drew Plitt threw for almost just under 300 yards, but only had 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Carson Steele had 15 carries for 62 yards. And receiving wise, Jay-Sean Jackson had 12 receptions for 146 and 1 tutty. Outside of that, I mean, Ball State's defense could just not get a stop. I mean, you look at even penalty-wise, Ball State only had 3 penalties for 32 yards. They did have 2 turnovers in time of possession. Ball State had the ball longer, 33 minutes compared to Georgia State's 26. But, rushing-wise, Ball State's defense could not stop Georgia State. They had 259 yards on the ground, averaging 9.8 per in rushing at only 17 times, rushing at 41 times, averaging 6.3 yards per carry, compared to Ball State's 35 for 2.1. It was just kind of the front seven just had a hard time. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Finishing under 500, I think, is a real disappointment. I know Coach New did not want that. He had a lot of great seniors on this roster this year, a lot of great upperclassmen who played in that MAC championship and who won that bowl game last year. Now, granted, there were some injuries. Hall didn't play, and a couple other guys on the defense as well. But it's a bummer for the Ball State Cardinals. It's a bummer for the fans, the alumni. But I know they had a great recruiting class this year, and hopefully Coach New can get these guys primed, ready to go here to make another run next season.
Sure. And you mentioned it, finishing 6-7, obviously not ideal. However, I am looking forward to seeing the Cardinals bounce back and regain some relevance within the Mid-American Conference. They had some great games throughout the year. There were some times where they really were still in contention for the MAC title and just couldn't get it done this year. Things like that happen. It's so hard to repeat as a MAC champion in the Mid-American Conference because there's so much parity. People were talking about that on a lot of these broadcasts. The amount of parity that comes from within the Mid-American Conference makes it hard for them to win out of conference because they are all so evenly competitive.
Yeah. You look at Ball State's schedule this year, and they beat Army by 12. They beat Western by 25. But then they lost a few close ones. They lost to Northern Illinois by 1. That hurts. They let Central Michigan get past them really quickly and beat Buffalo at the end of the year and lost to Toledo. A lot of good wins, but also a lot of just close losses.
Yeah. And so I think, it's a lot of that tale, right? Is all of these MAC programs are one play away from having a 9-3 season, a 10-2 season, whatever it is. Others are a play away from finishing below 500. So it's just, again, the tale of the Mid-American Conference. And, hats off to Ball State for, getting back to a bowl game in a game that really a lot of people were saying that they were heavy underdogs, which, it seems to be the case with the final score line. But hats off to them for getting back to a bowl game. I know that's not where Mike New wants them to be, and he's going to have these guys ready to go and focus for next season. Moving on to the Frisco Football Classic, the bowl game created so that Miami, Ohio, and North Texas could play football. And I think this is absolutely hilarious. We will probably never see a Frisco Football Classic ever again. Fortunately, the one and only title belongs to the Mid-American Conference and the Miami Redhawks, winning this game 27-14.
Yeah, that was a fun game to watch too. It was one of those games that they played 2 bowl games on that field, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, but then I think the FCS National Championships in Frisco this week. That's what's going on. Montana State.
Yep.
Go Bobcats. Anyways.
That's for you, Coach McElwain. If you're listening, that one was for you.
Sure. And my wife. So,
yeah, whatever.
You look at the Redhawks here. Gabbert was 22 of 31, 230 with 2 tutters. Miami of Ohio ran the ball pretty well to Kenny Tracy, 14 carries, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. And Jack Sorensen kind of did what we thought he would do all season, 7 receptions for 116 yards. I saw his thank you note to Miami of Ohio. I'm hard to believe he's been there 6 years already.
Right. It's I think that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. A lot of these guys who are a little bit younger, or even the seniors, they're super, super seniors. Last year didn't count. So a lot of these guys said, if it doesn't count, I'll stay on it. I'll get a master's degree. I'll keep playing college football. I'll get my master's degree, and it works out. So I think it worked out really well for him. Jack Sorensen, you mentioned, racking up 7 catches, 116 yards, just continuing to terrorize defenses as he has all season long. And Miami just looked good from start to finish in this game.
Yeah, they really did. North Texas is also a team that's they're not a slouch either.
No,
they play good ball. And but Miami of Ohio just showed up, and that's and also the great uniforms too. Those looked really good on TV.
Yeah, I think they looked really nice on TV, and it was fun seeing the red taking on the North Texas green. Looked a little bit like a Christmas football game, which was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned here, the Redhawks threw for 230 yards compared to North Texas's 228. The big discrepancy here, though, in the stats is Miami of Ohio ran it for 203 yards compared to North Texas, only 89 on the ground. Both teams had 5 penalties. The Redhawks 5 for 35, and North Texas 5 for 69, with also 2 turnovers. And time of possession, too, Miami had the ball nearly 18 minutes longer than North Texas did. And so, that kind of shows up here in the end scored 27-14, Redhawks coming out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, Miami looked great. All those numbers benefited Miami. Gabbert looked phenomenal in the pocket, stayed composed, and just really focused, dialed in. Just 22 completions against 31 attempts. I mean,
Mhm.
that's gonna get you home when your opponent's doing sub 500 on his completion percentage. So hats off to Miami for taking down North Texas in this bowl game. A great win for the MAC, a great win for the school called the Cradle of Coaches, the Miami University Redhawks. Moving up to the Idaho Potato Bowl, we had Kent State, the East Division champions, taking on Wyoming. Kent State coming off a brutal MAC championship loss where they go out west and they take an early lead on Wyoming. Couldn't get it done, falling to Wyoming 52-38. But this was a fun game to watch. The difference being the third quarter of scoring where Kent State was shut out entirely. This one was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it really was. You know, the game was a lot closer than a lot of people realized. Dustin Crum was 17 of 27 at 316 and 4 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, rushing wise, Marquez Cooper, 24 carries for 125. And then Dante Cephas here for the Flashes, 4 receptions for 116 and 1 touchdown. Offensively, they looked very good. But there was just something about Wyoming there, like you said, in that second half defensively, they were able to shut Kent State down. And that ended up being the determining factor.
Well, and I think you talk about what what Kent State was able to do defensively. Levi Williams was really the biggest difference maker in this game, the running back for Wyoming. He finished with 16 carries, 200 yards, 4 tutties, 1 long for 80 yards. Wyoming had 6 rushing touchdowns. So they figured out that Kent State does not have a solid rushing defense, and they exploited that for 411 rushing yards on 53 attempts and 6 scores. That's not going to get it done, even when Dustin Crum has a great game where he throws 0 picks, 4 scores for 316 yards. You can't give up 400 yards and 6 scores and hope to win, unfortunately.
And gave up 200 yards rushing to a quarterback.
Yeah, that's
and didn't Levi Williams, didn't he enter the transfer portal like the next day?
I think so. Yeah. I think he's out of Wyoming and he is on the move as a quarterback. So, and he is a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
So he is out and moving to, for him, greener pastures. So,
sure.
You know, this was a great game for him. Wyoming, you know, they had their hands full with the Kent State offense. But Kent State, again, just couldn't get it done. A lot of high scoring, 38 points will do it for you in a lot of bowl games, but not when the defense gives up 52. So a brutal loss there for Kent State. Obviously, they're losing a lot of players next year. You know, obviously Dustin Crum being the headliner, the starting quarterback for that team, one of the best players in the MAC. Losing him next year is going to be really difficult. Good luck to Coach Sean Lewis and that program as they rebuild and try to focus in on where they go and what they do next. Moving on to the Lending Tree Bowl, Eastern Michigan supremely outmatched by Liberty, 56-20. Yikes.
Yeah, this was one where, you know, we were sitting, which we'll get into here in a little bit, but we were sitting at the QuickLane's Bowl, and we get a message of Ben Bryant is transferring. Speaking of quarterbacks leaving, Ben Bryant, the senior out of Eastern, we went 23 of 36 for 200 yards, one pick. Rushing wise, the numbers are extremely down rushing wise here. Samson Evans for Eastern, 13 carries, 52 yards, 1 touchdown. And Hassan Bidone over here with 11 receptions, 83 yards, no touchdowns. You know, Liberty's defense was just really able to keep Eastern in check, and they did when it comes to the stats. You know, you look at the final score, 56-20. You kind of go to the box score here and the team stats. You know, let's see here. But again, though, Eastern had the ball for 37 minutes compared to Liberty's 22.
Well, and that's what blows my mind is you look at Eastern having the ball so much longer than Liberty. Liberty was just hyper efficient with their scoring. Their defense caused a lot of chaos, forced Eastern into a corner, and Eastern just couldn't keep up. I mean, we've seen Eastern in these high scoring games this season, a high scoring game with Toledo earlier this year where they won 53-50 or 52-49 or something like that. And so Eastern is very capable of scoring and scoring at will. That team just did not show up. Chris Creighton and co just couldn't get it done against Liberty. But yeah, the box score tells the grisly tale, especially that time of possession.
In the time of possession, and then you look at the total yards, 528 for Liberty and only 379. And 379 is respectable,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those aren't bad numbers by any means.
Right.
But Liberty was just able to get the ball moving on the ground through the air. Eastern was 254 compared to Liberty's 295. So not too much discrepancy there, but the big discrepancy is on the ground. Both teams had one interception, but penalties kind of hurt Eastern here, 9 for 82 compared to Liberty's 6 for 48.
Right.
This is a game where, Eastern had a shot, I'd say, early on. They came out, they looked semi-decent early. They were down 10 going into the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And they held in, but this again, the third quarter curse, if you will, they were shut out in the third quarter and giving up 16 points.
Yeah, you look at the box score going into halftime, Eastern is down 33-10 at halftime. That's not totally insurmountable, but you got to come out and you got to score. And they did the exact opposite, and they gave up a couple scores, and that was their demise. That was game over for Eastern, unfortunately. Hopefully,
yeah, it really was.
Hopefully Coach Creighton can get these guys back on track. I know that they looked good early on in the season, struggled down the stretch with a few things. You mentioned losing Preston Hutchinson, but they're also losing Ben Bryant to the transfer portal as well. So Eastern's going to have to find answers at quarterback, and they're going to have to find them quickly. Good luck to Eastern as they look to this offseason. They had a pretty decent recruiting class from what I remember looking at early signing day. So, good luck to them. Finding a quarterback is going to be key if they want to be competitive in the MAC next year. Moving on to the Tail Greeter Cure Bowl. This one ended in some controversy. Northern Illinois falling to Coastal Carolina 47-41. The MAC champions taking on the boys from the Conference USA, Coastal Carolina. This was a fun game.
It was. And, this is kind of what we figured it would be: high scoring, a lot of offense on both sides, obviously putting up over 40 points each. We kind of go down the numbers here. Rocky Lombardi was 20 of 33 for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jay Ducker, who's had a fantastic second half of the season, 24 carries, 146 yards, along with Cole Tucker receiving 6 receptions, 87 yards, and 1 touchdown. This, like you saw, this is a game that kind of ended a little controversy. With the clock running when it shouldn't have been, I believe. Was that what it was?
Yeah, I think there was a question on whether or not the Northern Illinois receiver caught the ball. And
that's right. On fourth down. That's right.
On fourth down. And some people say he did. Some people say he didn't. There should have been a review, in my opinion, which would have ultimately stopped the clock. And then the official placed the ball, but it felt like the official didn't get out of the way. Like if it was a first down, which if you're Northern Illinois and they caught the ball, it was a first down, that clock should have stopped at least temporarily. And the clock just didn't. And so there's just a lot of what we feel as fans, and even the officials have come out and said, we made a mistake towards the end of that game. It very well could have changed the outcome. I mean, this was a 6-point loss for Northern Illinois, and they were 2 yards away from the end zone. Not saying they would have won. I don't want to sit here and speculate to that front, but there's a very real chance that this team could have won this game and left as the Cure Bowl champions. So it's heartbreaking because you want to see your teams and your conference do well. Something that's crazy to me is you talk about box scores with the time of possession. Northern Illinois had the ball 39.5 minutes compared to Coastal Carolina's 20.5 minutes. The total yardage, this is a stat that kind of blows my mind. Northern Illinois, 516 yards to Coastal Carolina's 514 yards. A 2-yard difference in this game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Impressive.
I mean, if you look at some of these box scores here from these earlier games, these MAC schools have had the ball longer. I mean, I don't think they've been, time of possession. I don't think they've been down on any of these.
Not so far.
So, I mean, you talk about that catch, and if it goes to replay, I hate to say it, but I think it gets overturned.
I think it does too.
I think it gets overturned, which ends the game anyway on fourth down. But nevertheless, I think the opportunity should have been there at least. But unfortunately, the clock does run out, time expires, and Coastal comes out on top as the Cure Bowl champions.
And I think that's the other thing, right? Is there was no stoppage of the clock at all, and there definitely should have been, whether it be to mark the first down, whether it be to review it and overturn the first down, whatever it was, there should have been a stoppage. That game did not end fairly for either program. And I think that's where we as fans, we were treated to a really great bowl game, the entire game, just to have it literally come down to the last 2 minutes. I've always been the last, 20 seconds. I've always been somebody who says I will never blame the refs for how an outcome of a game is. Because if you blame the refs, you shouldn't have been in that position to where the refs affect one play. This was a game. This is one of those rare exceptions where I will blame officiating on the outcome of a game because they could have handled it so much better. And I would have been happy to say Coastal Carolina won this game fair and square had they reviewed it and overturned it. Had they done anything, Northern Illinois gets the ball batted down at the end of the game, whatever. But there were so many missteps by officiating that even if you are a Coastal Carolina fan, you can't feel great about knowing that the officials didn't handle this game properly.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion on the sidelines too. When you look at the replay and you look at Coach Hammock, he runs down on the field trying to get an explanation, and I don't think he actually got an explanation as to what happened.
I don't think he did either. But again, Northern Illinois are defending MAC champs now, finished the season 9-5. Coastal Carolina improved to 11-2. That was a great game to watch. Unfortunately, the last 20 seconds were brutal, but it was a phenomenal game, and looking forward to seeing one of the youngest teams in the country come back next year and come out fighting. Northern Illinois is going to be probably king of the MAC for quite a while once again, thanks to what Coach Hammock is doing and all that young talent they have on that roster.
Yeah, because what did Rocky tell us? Say it's 76 freshmen or something like that?
76 freshmen.
Yeah. So he mentioned that to us at the MAC championship. So they'll be young. They'll be good for a couple of years to come.
Sure. Last game before we dive into the QuickLane Bowl, Middle Tennessee taking on the University of Toledo down in the Bahamas at the Bahamas Bowl. This one was not so fun as a Toledo guy. This was fun early on. Toledo taking a 17-14 lead into halftime, scoreless in the third quarter. Moving on, Middle Tennessee takes advantage, opens it up, ends up winning this one in a game that the box score says it was closer than it actually was. Ends up winning 31-24. Not ideal if you are Toledo. Obviously, DeCon Finn, the freshman quarterback for the University of Toledo, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 212 yards. The team ran for 235 yards. Without getting too much into it, I questioned some of the play calling on not using Bryant Kobach a little bit more. He only had 18 carries for 126 yards. This was, unfortunately, I have to say it, this was mismanagement by Coach Candle and what I think they should have done. Now, obviously, I don't know all the decisions that go into doing different things. I don't know what's happening. But when Bryant Kobach was given the ball, he was doing things with the ball. To me, logic seems to dictate maybe should have run the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, and you talk about that. There's a lot. I got to watch parts and pieces of the game, and it seemed like there's a lot of missed opportunities for the Rockets to capitalize on.
Mm-hmm.
A couple late turnovers. Both getting turnovers and creating turnovers. But yeah, I think this is one of those things where it was fairly close at halftime, wasn't it?
Yeah, Toledo was up 17-14 at the half. Yeah. And yeah, it just was very much, I don't know, just disappointing, as many Toledo fans are grumbling to fire Coach Candle. I think that what will happen is we will see Coach Candle retain his job for another year because Mike O'Brien, the athletic director at Toledo, is retiring at the end of the year. So he's not going to make any coaching changes unless they're 100% necessary. He's going to leave that to be the next AD. So there's 2 camps of thought. Is Jason Candle does enough to keep his job? And, we've talked with him at Media Day. I love talking to the guy, great guy, all football, all business, really focused. I could sit and talk to him for hours. And there's other camps who are saying, get rid of him. He needs to go somewhere. The problem with a MAC school, and we can talk about this with Akron here shortly, is you're not going to get too many home run hires too often because you're a MAC school. You're a mid-major program. The home run hires are going to go coach at high-level FCS programs, or they're going to go for the big jobs in the Power 5, and you're just kind of stuck in limbo. It sucks, but that's part of the reality of it.
Yeah, it really is. And, it's one of those things where this coming season is going to be make or break for Toledo because they do have a lot of great young talent. It's just going to be, are they going to be able to capitalize on this? Because DeQuan Friend's a freshman.
Yeah.
He's going to be around a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was interesting too during the game. I think I had texted this to you. He didn't look comfortable in the pocket. He was missing a lot of easy throws, throwing a lot of stuff into the dirt, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, a lot of underthrown balls. And again, I'm going to chalk some of that up to freshman experience, not because he only took the starting job over, I want to say week 8. So he hadn't even been the starter all season. So he gets his first start week 7, week 8. So he's had half a season where he's the true starter. I mean, you knew that one of those games was going to happen to where he wasn't comfortable. Unfortunately, just happened to be in the biggest game of the season, the bowl game, the game where you could win a championship.
Yeah, and a lot of growing, I think, this for him. Finn, he's a big quarterback. He'll look good. I believe you get Koback back one more year, don't you?
Koback will be a senior this next year, pending his decision to go to the NFL draft. I think that he will be a senior this next year and come back and play. Koback has a lot to prove.
Sure, then you had that Matt Landers, a transfer from Georgia, who he ended up having a nice second half of the season.
Yeah,
and
he looked
5
really
touchdowns. Good. And you'll have him for another year as well.
Yep, he was a junior this year, and he's going to be awesome. He became DeQuan Finn's favorite target, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a 6'5", 200-pound junior. Like, this is a guy who is big, and he's going to be punishing. I mean, you don't see too many 6'5" receivers in the Mid-American Conference.
No, not at all. I mean, went to Georgia, coming to Toledo. He's talented. It's just a matter of giving him the ball. So you end up with 20 receptions, 514 yards. Most of those yards coming towards the end of the season. 5 touchdowns. He averaged 25.7 yards a catch.
Yeah, big guys like that. That'll do it for you, especially because they can get downfield and they can move. But so that wraps up bowl season, except for the one where we attended in Detroit, the QuickLane Bowl. Let's just go ahead and just start from the beginning there. We get to bowl game, we get our passes, and we get up to the booth. We have bowl gifts.
We do. Yes, we had scarves on our seats.
Yes,
and with the QuickLane's logo, so that was kind of fun to see and to grab. But it was a fun experience. We got up to the press box. I had the press pass. You had a photography pass. So I was in the press box the whole game. You came up at halftime, did a show, a quick recap, and then you went back down to some pictures. We got to go down there pregame, and we're starting to become pretty familiar with Ford Field, I think.
I think so. We don't have to ask as many questions on how do we get here or how do we go there.
No.
It's becoming very familiar. It's become our show's second home, if you will. We've been to Ford Field 4 times in the last 13 months. And very, very comfortable, very familiar. So we get down to the field. We get a chance to talk to Coach Tim Lester, wishing him best of luck as he and the Broncos take the field. Great conversation with him and how he knew your old high school coach and how your high school coach was one of his offensive linemen.
Yeah, my high school coach, Mike Kirshner, was he was a captain at Western back in the 90s and was just offensive tackle for 3 years, I believe, as Lester was quarterback. And so I had reached out to my coach and said, hey, we're going to be at this game. Any words you want me to pass on? And we plan on talking to Coach Lester at some point. And then I mentioned that, hey, did you guys cross paths there? And he goes, great. He goes, yeah, we did. He was a starter there for 3 years with me. They knew each other very well. They spent a lot of time with each other. So I went up to Coach Lester because we weren't sure if it was him or not. Because like kind of all the coaches looked the same with the same shirts and the same hats.
All the same shirts, hats. They all had glasses. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, and so, but this coach was standing next to a security guard. So I go, okay, I'm assuming that's him. So went up behind him. I got Coach Lester. He turned around, came back to us, shook our hands, talked for a few minutes, and I go, one of my high school coaches was one of your teammates back in the day. And he kind of looked, smiled, and goes, who was that? I go, Mike Kirshner. And he just grinned from ear to ear and just goes,
big
Mike
smile.
Kirshner. Oh yeah, he loved it. And so we got to talk a little bit about that. And then I asked, hey, do you mind if I take a picture with you and I'll send it to Coach? He goes, absolutely. So I got a picture with Coach Lester. I sent it to Coach Kirshner. Loved it. Thought that was so cool. But that was a lot of fun experience down there.
Yeah, that was a great time. Obviously you got to be up in the booth for the game. I got to be down on the field. My experience down on the field was a little bit different than yours up in the booth, but just getting to explore Ford Field, interacting with some of the other photographers, the other media people down there, just talking to them and asking about different things that they've covered and whatnot. That was a great experience, just kind of chatting it up with some of those guys. But also it was fun to kind of interact with some of the fans a little bit as we're walking around and I'm taking photos, whatever. You guys can check out the photos on our website, the cscpodcast.com. That album has been uploaded. I took 1,000+ photos. We've got about 130 of them up on the website right now. So if you guys want to check those out, you can find them under our photography page with the QuickLane Bowl 2021. You guys won't miss it. Some great photos there. Got some great action shots that I was very, very proud of. A couple touchdowns, guys crossing into the end zone, guys making some great plays, things like that. That was such a great experience. And then you come down after the game. We do our halftime show, whatever. I go back down during the third quarter, take more photos. You come down after the game. We get onto the field. and we get a text from Jeremy Guy from the Mac front office saying, "Hey, can you guys do me a favor?"
Yeah, and we just happened to be the right place at the right time, weren't we?
We were, and we helped out Jeremy, did some photos, did some videos for him and the Mac office. You guys can actually see those on the Mac's official Twitter and Instagram page. But we get down there, we're doing post game stuff, getting our photos and stuff. And what is it that we end up getting there, AJ?
Some championship hats.
We are official QuickLane Bowl champions for all those who are listening. I have my hat here in the living room right now. AJ's got his hat somewhere. We are staring at them, and they say QuickLane Bowl champions. So I'm just going to tell everybody I'm a champion. That's just how I'm living life now.
I mean, it only seems fitting, right?
Only seems
that
fitting.
was really funny. The guy has handed us 2 hats. I go, okay. I mean, I'm not going to say no to that.
Right.
And, but talk about a whole, obviously there's 22,000 people, they said.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was the fullest I've seen Ford Field when it hasn't been a Lions game. And I'm pretty sure that beat some Lions attendance.
It might, absolutely. And it's so funny. Granted, Western is only an hour and a half away, maybe 2 hours,
something like that.
So 98% of the stadium was Western fans, but Nevada had a few nice little crowd there.
Yeah, Nevada had a nice group of people there. They turned out and they showed their support for their Wolfpack, which you always love to see. Yeah,
and it was crazy too, as we can get into it here. But I've never seen a quarterback who was 6'5".
Oh man, yeah, he was massive. Well, I think he was 6. I want to say he's 6'9".
That might be
6'9". He was 6'9".
Very large, yeah.
Yeah, so a near 7-foot quarterback, and he was a senior. So this is the only game I think he started this year. I want to say, yeah, let's take a look at the bowl game numbers. Yeah, so this was the only game he started.
Yeah, because your quarterback transferred, I believe, because the coach left.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So they were very, very underhanded for this bowl game, but we'll just get into the numbers a little bit and check things out. Western Michigan obviously dominated this game. And when I say dominated, I mean they were up 31-10 at halftime. Western Michigan came out firing on all cylinders and absolutely obliterated Nevada in both the score and in the total yards. Western Michigan, 514 yards to Nevada's 242. Big yikes. Nevada actually split their yardage. 121 passing, 121 rushing. And Western Michigan ran all over them with 352 rushing yards. This game was over after Western was up 7-3, hadn't even run an offensive play.
No, they took the kickoff back. Nevada went down there and scored 3 points. And then it was Sky Moore who took it.
I believe so, yeah.
He went 104 yards, whatever it was, to the house untouched. And he was blazing up there. Because I had a aerial view of it. You had the sideline view of it.
Julian Diaz. Sean Tyler.
Julian Tyler, that's right. Sean Tyler. That's right. He was electric too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the game the air kind of left from Nevada sidelines after that because he went up the middle untouched, 104 yards to the house, and Western didn't look back.
Yeah, no, they really didn't. I mean, they put the pedal to the metal pretty quickly, pretty early, and just kept it there. We're not shut out in any of their quarters. Just really made this a game that was impossible for Nevada to get back into. Nevada scored a late touchdown in the fourth quarter to make the score a little bit more respectable, 52-24. But yeah, this one was over really at the end of the first quarter, definitely at halftime.
Yeah, it really was. Nevada's quarterback, like you mentioned, he hadn't started a game all year. And I'm not going to say it was a hostile environment, but it was a loud environment.
It was a very loud environment. We talked about the amount of fans and what they were doing. I was very impressed with just how much Western fans showed out and turned out. I mean, it's a Monday after Christmas. You got nothing to do. No other major bowl games are happening. Most people are off work. The kids are off school. Let's go watch a bowl game. It's only an hour and a half away. And they did. And Western came out and really represented strongly for the Mid-American Conference. Hats off to Western. Let's move into the transfers and notable leaves for these teams. I guess we'll start with Western. Caleb Elby and Sky Moore have declared for the NFL draft.
Yeah, Sky Moore, that's not surprising. He was electric here this season. He had a fantastic season. He'll do great things in the league. Caleb Elby, he has the size, I think, of a quarterback who can play in the league. Mm-hmm. I think he could be very similar to a Bruce Gradkowski style quarterback. Mm-hmm. Just be consistent when a team needs you. He can be that guy. But yeah, I'd say kind of surprising about LB, but not surprising so much about Moore.
Yeah, Moore. I mean, they're both sophomores. Obviously, with COVID season not counting last year, they're both technically really juniors. So them leaving a little bit early, not wanting to stay and continue. I get, they're young guys who have an opportunity to go and play in the NFL. Go get your bag, guys. Like you guys are gonna get a payday, and you guys are gonna play well. I liken Sky Moore to Deontay Johnson a little bit, or a Julian Edelman, somebody who's very small but is gonna have good hands and is gonna be able to do some good things in the NFL.
Yeah, I think so too. He has the speed. Once you get him in the open field, he just really can't be touched.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that a little bit during the QuickLanes Bowl. And but I think he'll do a great job. He'll be, like you said, Deontay Johnson, somebody who gets an opportunity. He'll be one that makes the most of it.
Sure. So that's those are two of our big guys declaring for the NFL. Samuel Womack, the cornerback for Toledo, also declaring for the NFL draft. A couple other notable guys are making their moves and moving forward to move to the NFL. But Eastern Michigan, we mentioned Ben Bryant and Preston Hutchinson entering the transfer portal. They are ready to leave Eastern, ready to seek greener pastures. And those are two big notable ones. Also, Cato Nelson from Akron entering the transfer portal. Akron bringing on a new head coach. We can talk about him in a minute, but some big quarterbacks and notable players in the MAC leaving to go seek greener pastures.
Yeah, this kind of seems to be the theme every year in the Mid-American Conference. They lose a lot of people to the portal, but they also get a lot of people in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's kind of works itself out in the end, I guess. But yeah, seeing Ben Bryant and Hutchinson, I think they entered at the same time, I think.
Yeah.
I think that. So
yeah, I think it was a same day announcement, both of them within just hours of each other. And I don't know if they both knew. My question is, would one of them decide to not transfer if they knew the other one was going? But I think there's the other thing too, right? Is people enter the transfer portal to see what's out there. That doesn't mean that they don't come back. There are guys who always enter the transfer portal and end up staying at their home school. So it could just be a matter of who knows.
You see that right now with that Caleb kid from Oklahoma. He Caleb Williams, I think it is.
I think so.
He's like, look, OU's not out. I'm just going to see what else is out there. So
sure. I mean, hey, again, if you think you can go out and do something, go for it. Good for you. We support it. You guys deserve the opportunity to do what you want. And I think there is a take on this on Twitter the other day. Coaches make transfers with themselves and they take their families and move on to different programs and whatnot for their families. These guys deserve the same opportunity. So I think the transfer portal, as much as we hate it as fans because we fall in love with these guys and we want them to continue to stay with our program, I get it. They deserve that opportunity to go do what's best for them. So to all the MAC players in the transfer portal, we wish you good luck and hope that you guys find what makes you happy.
Sure. That, like we said, it happens every year. And as a whole, I think the transfer portal is becoming just essentially a free agency for college when you look at especially the past week or 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
A lot of big names or a lot of big programs kind of moving all over the country. But, you look at it, Ball State's not losing anybody. Akron lost Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Northern Illinois is losing anybody. I don't think they have anybody to lose. They're all freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think anybody's going there anytime soon. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here the next few weeks, and especially when it comes to spring ball, essentially where everybody ends up, and how they can adapt into the system. And you look at Rocky Lombardi; he transferred from Sparty to Northern Illinois, and he's done a fantastic job. So
absolutely,
sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. The kid who we just talked about at Toledo from Georgia,
Matt Landers,
he had himself a nice season, and it works out for him. And I think in most cases it does.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Again, I wish these guys all the best of luck. We know that Akron made a coaching change. They let go of Coach Tom Arth, who we spoke to at Media Day. Great guy. Wishing him nothing but the best. But Tom Arth is out at Akron. They fired him after their loss to Ball State 31-25, and they had Oscar Rodriguez fill in as the interim. Just a couple weeks ago, actually a month ago today, Akron hires Oregon offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead as the head football coach in a very surprising move. A lot of people were not thinking Joe Moorhead was going to go to Akron, especially knowing that he's had a pedigree where he's coached at Mississippi State, where he's had big stops in his career. Previous stop at Akron back in, I want to say 2005, when he was part of the team's first championship, MAC championship. And this was a surprising move, but I think it's the right move. Akron needs somebody who has a high pedigree, who can go out and who can recruit and who can win. And I think Joe Moorhead is going to tear it up in the Mid-American Conference.
I think so too. And he's a guy too who's from that area. I believe he's a Pittsburgh guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from the area initially.
So Pittsburgh's not that far from Akron. So he knows the area. I'm sure he knows the high school coaches and the high schools in general. And so he'll be able to recruit well. He knows what football means to that area, that part of the Ohio and Eastern PA. I think he'll do a good job.
Well, it's really interesting. You talked about he's from Pennsylvania, his wife's from Pennsylvania, and their son, Mason, their oldest son, plays football at D3 Grove City College near Pennsylvania-Ohio border. So there's a lot of ties, a lot of roots. This is a good opportunity for him to be able to watch his son play football on the weeks that they have Maction. So it'll be a great opportunity for him to get to see his son get to play some college ball. I know he's excited. He knows that he can win and succeed at Akron. This is a guy who, again, served as the offensive coordinator at Akron from 2006 to 2008, and he coached the wide receivers and was an assistant from 2004 to 2005. So this is a guy who knows the program, who understands what Akron means to the area. So he's not coming in cold. He understands Akron and what it means to be a Zip. So I'm very excited to see what he ends up doing, because he coordinated at Penn State, head coach at Fordham, his alma mater, bunch of playoff appearances. So this is a guy who knows what it takes to win, and I think that he's going to do very well at Akron.
I think so too. He's the type of guy they need. He has the experience. He has the pedigree. He's big coach, big Power Five, and he was coached, at lower levels. And I think as much as we liked Coach Arth, it was a rough start. You go to Ohio State week 1 or week 3, whatever that was, and that's a tough spot. And so it happens. Akron obviously at the end of the year only went 2-10. You look at the record; they started off at Auburn, home against Temple, home against Bryant, and then at Ohio State. That's a tough 4-game stretch with three of those 4 schools. They did beat Bryant, but outside of that, they lost to 60-10 to Akron, 60-10 to Auburn, 45-24 to Temple, 59-7 against Ohio State. They lost losing to schools like OU, who struggled this year. That really hurts as well. And some of these games they were in, Western beat them by 5. Then they turn around the following week and get blown out by Kent State 38-0, and Toledo beats them 49-14. We really liked Coach Arth, but when we look at the numbers, something needed to change. And Akron's a tough place to win. It's been struggling for a number of years, and I think Morstead can be the person to turn it around.
Sure, and it'll be great to see what he does. I'm excited to see what his future holds. Speaking of futures, we have a few things that we're trying to get planned for the next couple of weeks, and as we prep for the MAC basketball championship, as we go down and figure out what we want to do, we're going to plan on having some guests on the show, get back to doing some interviews, having some coaches, players, things of that nature, some alumni to the conference. And I'm excited for the next couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of cool things in the store. We just need to make those connections and get it taken care of, which shouldn't be a problem. We're going to do some cool guests. We have some interviews all set up, and some cool conversations with people who you didn't think we would talk to, but we are.
Sure.
And, we mentioned alumni, and there's a few Mid-American Conference alumni we want to talk to. And I think that'd be really fun to get their perspective of guys who have played, in the years past, who may have not gotten, to play in action,
Sure.
And so kind of talk to those guys about that and their experiences and how it helped them moving forward in their professional careers. It'll be really interesting to talk to them.
Sure. No, I'm excited. And we've got a lot of great stuff on tap, guys. So keep tuning in, keep sharing, keep tweeting about us, keep tweeting at us. Keep helping us we're 14 people away from our first 1,000 followers on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support what we do and what we are doing as we continue to grow our entity and our program. We definitely could not be to the point where we are at without you guys and without your love and support. So thank you guys. But AJ, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Did you have anything else you wanted to tack on before we close this out?
Just to remind people to go to our website, the cscpodcast.com, to look at the photos from this past week or 2 weeks ago, really, QuickLane's Bowl. And then, of course, the MAC championships on there. Media days on there, the Ball State Central Michigan game, the Akron Kent State game. Last year's MAC championship is on there as well, I believe. So yeah, our website has those right now. That has all of our guests that we've had on, some pictures and some details about them. And then, make sure you guys go check that out. Some really cool pictures. Alex was breaking a sweat down there on the sidelines. And why I was eating lunch, and it was fantastic. He was running, so it worked out well. But yeah,
I needed the
sure
cardio that day.
Right. We got our steps in, that's for sure. But yeah, make sure you guys go check out our website. A lot of cool stuff going on there, along with our social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think we're even on LinkedIn, aren't we?
Yeah, we're even on LinkedIn. Yeah, we're anywhere there's social media, we're pretty much there except TikTok, but that's probably coming.
Yeah, that'll be on you, because I just like watching videos. I don't know how to make them, so
fair enough.
That's something we'll do sometime too. That'd be a lot of fun to do. But yeah, that's all it for me. Like I said, just a reminder to go check out our social media platforms and our website for some cool stuff. And that's it for me.
Cool. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Keep checking us out. Like AJ said, again, visit the website at thecscpodcast.com. Help us grow the brand. Help us move forward. The bigger we get, the more opportunities we get for you guys. So please continue to push us forward. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
See ya.